Hello and welcome to the Dragons Lair, the podcast all things Dragons RFC and rugby in the region. Hope you're all doing well. I'm Jamie, and joining me as always is my co-host Gavin Thomas. How are we, Gav?
I'm very well, Jamie. Very well, everyone, I suppose.
Excellent. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the Sports Social Network. So if you like what we do, please subscribe, leave us a kind review, and tell your Dragons mates about us, because it really does help us grow the pod. Right then, Gav, I think we'll get straight into it then. Dragons v Leinster. So, as expected, the Dragons lost to Leinster 33-10. Captain and player of the match, Dan Sheehan, Thomas Clarkson, Kieran Frawley, Charlie Nagatai, and Scott Penny scored Leinster's tries, with Ross Byrne converting 4. And Ivan Owen, who made his first start in 20 months, scored Dragons' only try, with Kai Evans kicking a penalty and a conversion. So 33-10, Dragons still looking for their first win of the season. No home win since October 2022. This was to be expected, really, Gav, wasn't it? There was no surprises, I'm afraid, with this game.
I think the result wasn't a surprise. I think the performance was disappointing. I think it just looked toothless, considering how much territory we had in periods in the game. I'll take a loss. I'm not pleased with some of the decision making.
No, it seems to be a regular theme, doesn't it, this season? Decision making, lack of execution and accuracy in the 22. I have to be honest, I don't think we were poor. I don't think it was a bad performance. I just thought that, to me, we were outplayed and outmuscled by a far superior team with a much superior skill set. I mean, honestly, Gav, when you watch Leinster in the flesh, they're so good and they make it look so easy. Their forwards, the handling of the forwards, they got great hands. Everybody is synced in, with the attack. It flows so easy. When you watch us on the attack, it just looks clunky. It looks hard work. It looks like we don't really know what we're doing, like we're running out of ideas. Leinster just throwing the ball around and they're making it look so easy. Like I said, the forwards are comfortable with their ball handling and skills. It did make me think, goodness, we are miles and miles behind. I mean, we were anyway before the game in terms of budget resources and everything else, but they really are a very good team.
Yeah, the point that Tom was making last week, isn't it, about the Leinster way? And you can be cynical and say, well, you can build a way if you've got a budget twice the size of anyone else in the competition. But you can see that in the way they played. They were very sharp. Yeah. And what was your take on it? You were at the game, Jamie. What was your take on it? Because watching it on TV, it was not the best game of rugby I've ever seen. It's fair to say.
No, I mean, the first thing I will say, the atmosphere was a lot better than the Cardiff game, because that was on a Sunday as well. There was a bit of life in the crowd. For the first half, at least. I think the second half, when they came out and scored that early try.
Yeah, that
it did feel like, there was an air of inevitability about it. And it did feel like, oh, here we go. But I thought the game was okay. The conditions were pretty difficult.
Yeah.
It was pretty horrendous, to be honest. Like I said, I don't think this was a terrible Dragons performance. I don't think we were that bad. I just think, like I said, we're completely outplayed and outmuscled and outgunned by a much, much superior team. But of course, we will talk about the cards, because this game was, let's just say that a few incidents. So let's get into it then. Let's talk about this. So in the 65th minute, Tame Basham caught Ross Byrne in the head with his elbow. Let's be honest, it was a glancing cheap shot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And after a lengthy TMO review, Basham was shown a red card. And today the news has come out that he's going to be banned for 4 games, reduced 2 weeks mitigation on apology and, all that sort of stuff. He will return for the Dragons in the Challenge Cup for our game against Poe. So, Tame Basham out of action now for the Dragons for 4 weeks. Gav, what could you say about it? It was so dumb, wasn't it? I mean, it's justified red, wasn't it? And ban.
It was brainless, absolutely brainless. I don't even understand why you're doing it. And I'm not condoning cheap shots, but if you're going to do a cheap shot, do it properly at least. He didn't even make contact. It was awful. And the minute it happened, I was, oh, well, that's clearly a red, and I don't understand why it took so long, because that was as red can be.
Yeah.
There was no mitigation.
No, there isn't at all. So when I was in the stadium, I'm short-sighted, see, so it's very difficult for me to see the big screen at the far end of the ground. But they had it on the replay on the big screen. There was howls of discontent and a lot of booing when Tane got sent off, right? So when I first saw it, I thought, well, I said to my dad, I said, it's going to be a card here, but I'm not sure if it's yellow or red. No, it ended up being a red card. We left the game slightly early for many reasons. And on the way out, the security guard said to us, "Oh, that was never red, was it? It was never red." So I need to go back and have a look at it because, I'm not sure. When I got back home and I watched it back, I just thought, oh, for fuck's sake. It was clearly a red, wasn't it? It was clearly a red. And it's funny, like the reaction I've seen to this is wild, absolutely wild takes out there. You got some people saying on the Facebook forums, the game's gone soft. You barely made contact. You got people on Twitter today, because I saw the Irish journalist Murray Kinsella. He posted a video of the incident. I mean, it's been on social media now for at least a week.
Yeah.
But he reposted a video and he, wrote about Tane Bash again, a 4-match ban. You want to see the replies to him. And him for the rest of the season. You could have killed someone. And all. It's just absolutely ridiculous. He scummed this assault, and it's crazy. I mean, look, it was dumb. It was stupid. He hasn't killed anyone. No. Yeah, so he will hopefully learn from this, won't he?
I guarantee I will get cheaper shots than that on Saturday. And there'll be no video. There'll be no videos in Sussex Division 5. And it happens in rugby. It shouldn't be happening in a professional game. He certainly shouldn't be doing that. No. But let's calm down. He's got a red. He's got an appropriate ban. That's fine. No one else needs to have an opinion on it. The things have happened, and I thought the ref did a good job in quite difficult circumstances. There was the Leinster, where Leinster scored from. I felt, they got the penalty where the Leinster players kicked it through the ruck, and he said, "Oh, he's come through the gate." Well, unless the laws are changed, so the gate covers everywhere in the vague area of the ruck, he hadn't come through the gate. But I think generally the ref got it right.
When I watched it back as well, that incident, Steph Hughes desperately tried to convince the ref that it was mitigation because he was falling. Yes. It was so desperate, wasn't it? And like I'm sat there watching, thinking, "Oh, just shut up, Steph. Just shut up. There's no mitigation here, mate." And it was painful to watch.
I'm a clumsy man. I fall over a lot. I don't tend to throw my elbow into whatever I'm falling on.
I saw a comment from somebody as well after the game on Twitter saying, "Oh, Di Flower probably defend him. You watch." He did no such thing. In fairness to Di Flanagan, he said, and I quote, "It was very silly from Tane. He wants to be a top-end player, but that wasn't good enough, and top-end players don't do things like that." Quite right, Di. It's hard to defend him after an action like that. The other thing I will add to this is, I'm sat in the Bisley. Just behind me is the hospitality boxes. Warren Gatland was behind us. That's not going to go down well, because if you remember in the World Cup, he got sent off against Georgia for, instigating that bloody scuffle. And he's got sent off again in front of Gatland. I think his Wales place could be in danger, Gav, couldn't it?
And he's on the fringes anyway, isn't he? Because, if you're looking at the pecking order of back rows, he's quite down there anyway, isn't he? Like Aaron, Jack Morgan, Tommy Raffel. So he is down that pecking order anyway. And then God, why can't I think of his name? John Plumtree's son, Tane Plumtree.
Tane Plumtree,
yeah. At Scarlets, he seems to be doing well. So, he is at risk significantly. His position was never secure and will become less secure with performances like that, really. But it was just stupid. And that's my frustration. The Matthew Screech thing, that's just a rugby thing. That happens.
Well, I was going to come on to Matthew Screech. I mean, just to end it with Tane, it is a shame because I've always been a fan of Tane Basham.
Mm.
And yes, okay, I know he gets criticism for his lack of dog and work at the breakdown, but my defense of him has always been that he can do things that other back rowers can't do. He's very talented. He's got great feet. He's got a really good skill set. He's pacey. And it's just a shame, really, that, for Wales and for Dragons, he's let himself down a little bit. So hopefully he'll bounce back, he'll learn from it and come back a better player. So let's talk about Matthew Screech. And so in the 69th minute, Matthew Screech saw a yellow card for a high shot on Kieran Frawley. Now, again, I've seen such a mixed reaction. Some people saying should have been a card, play on. Some people think it should have been red. Other people saying, yellow card is the right call. For me personally, I felt yellow card was the right decision because there was a slight dip and a change in direction from Frawley. And I think that's what saved Matthew Screech. But I have to be honest, if it was given a red, I probably wouldn't have had many complaints either. It was one of those that could have gone either way, but I just felt there was just enough mitigation for me with the dip and the change direction. What did you make of it, Gal?
Oh yeah, I would describe it as an orange card because I
Yes.
felt it was a yellow, but it could have easily been a red. It was a card all day long. Kind of. And the problem, I like Matthew Screech, but his tackling technique is never great, and that was just typical of it. Too high, too fixed, feet in the wrong place. And it was always, it was going to end up like that. It was, it was poor, really. But the ref again got that right. I think, and I've seen criticism of the ref, particularly amongst Dragons fans. But I think he got the key decisions right. Yeah, you will get the odd penalty decision wrong. He clearly did not like Rodri in the front row. He was not having any of Rodri's scrummaging.
No, I mean, the first thing I'd say is Dragons fans always moan about the ref. Whether we win or lose, it doesn't matter who is in charge. They always moan about the ref. I think our fan base is the worst, actually, for moaning about the ref. I'll be honest about that. I think we are.
I think the worst fan base for that we will be playing on the weekend.
Oh, you reckon?
Yeah. Maybe it's just the Osprey fans I know, but
well, we'll soon see when we'll see the reaction after the game. But just to quickly touch on Matthew Screech, he does need to be careful, mind, with his tackle technique, because if you remember last season, he got sent off against Connacht, but a very similar high hit. So, he got lucky last week. He wasn't a red card, but he needs to be careful because he does come in too high.
I know he's a tall lad, but, get yourself a bit lower. For me, it's the way he plants his feet. He plants his feet really square, so he can't make any adjustments then. And the Connacht one was exactly the same. He's planted his feet, they're really square. He can't move. His knees aren't there. They're too close together, and he can't get his body down low enough.
Yeah, and he did make a genuine attempt to wrap as well. You can see that. So I think that's another reason.
It wasn't a rugby league shoulder in the face. It was.
Oh God, no.
No, it was just poor technique by a man who should know better.
Yeah, so that was that then. There was another incident in this game. There was an issue with the communication.
Yes.
So this is what Dave Flanagan said after the game. In the first half, we were in the game and there were no comms between the touch judge and the referee. We were hearing blue infringement, offside that the ref hasn't given. Then we found out at half-time that the mics weren't working. We want to be in a good league in the URC and do things properly, but stuff like that is difficult to accept. And I think he's got a very good point. And, you see all these people on social media, URC equals best league. That's not best league stuff, is it? That's quite amateur, isn't it?
Oh yeah, hugely so. And I think that was like the issue with the penalty that they scored from, where they got a penalty in the middle of the field and a Leinster player's kicked it through the rack and come offside.
Yeah.
And he's missed a lot of that. And that, it was. The thing is, the URC best league thing, I don't think anyone says that seriously, do they? That's an ironic statement.
They do. To be fair, the Irish say it a lot. The South Africans now are starting to say it. The Scottish, there's some Welsh. I like the URC, mate. I'm not as down on the URC as a lot of Welsh people are. I'll always support the league, but what I will say about it, and we had a pod about this on the Wrap with Hugh Griffin, it does have its flaws. It does have a lot of flaws to URC. It's not perfect by any means. I don't think it's the best league, but I think top 14 is a better league personally. But that's just my personal opinion. And I think the English Premiership has declined and waned, especially now with the loss of his teams.
Yeah.
That's really diluted that product. But where do you stand on ULC then, Gav?
Well, it's fine. URC equals perfectly fine league. It would be my
It's not quite as catchy, is it?
No, it's not. But it's good. It's competitive.
Yes.
It's the issue is it is dominated by the sides with the biggest playing resources, as all leagues are. When people say, "Oh, that's not," well, the Premier Football is like, it's you spend more, you win more. Simple as that. And Leinster dominate it, and Munster do as well. Munster fans, well, we're not like Leinster. You've got a playing budget much bigger than any of the Welsh regions. You've got a playing budget much bigger than any of the Scottish regions. You've got a playing budget bigger than 2 of the 4 South African franchises. So don't be suggesting that Munster aren't in that kind of arms race financially either. But they are good teams, and they're good teams who do well in global and in European competition, like Leinster, clearly. It's. I think the challenge is it is a league of 2 leagues, really, isn't it? There are the top 8, and then there's the ones who aren't there. And sadly, the Welsh region seem to be in the ones who aren't there.
Yeah, I think it was the first time in regional rugby all 4 teams lost playing at home in the league. I mean, I don't know how many times that's happened, mind, where all 4 teams are playing at home and they've all lost. But yeah, it's a pretty damning stat, isn't it? And I just think it shows that's where Welsh rugby is. I mean, it was a deflating weekend, wasn't it? I mean, I watched all the games. I mean, Scarlets, that was a comedy show at the end with Steph Evans. I mean, that was almost comical. But the Ospreys were unlucky, but you could see that coming a mile off in the last 10 minutes. You just knew Glasgow. I mean, they're driving more. And we know all about Glasgow's driving more as Dragons fans. It is very, very difficult to stop. And Ospreys have got a good pack, but maybe that's somewhere we can target. We'll talk about this later on. Ospreys' more defence might not be up to it. He really did struggle to cope with Glasgow. And Cardiff came close.
I don't think our Mole defence was up to match. So either was it we just,
no.
Every time they got a Mole, they were rolling over us. It was quite poor. And the other thing for me, we made some weird choices. So Dan Lydiard did a lot of ball carrying. He's not a great ball carrier. He wasn't breaking the line. But then the problem was then he wasn't slowing down the ruck either, because he's carrying. He's not slowing down the ruck later in the game. They were they disrupted every attacking ruck we had, and they were dominating every one of their attacking rucks. And Lydia didn't really bring an awful lot to that particular part of the game, and we just lacked ball carriers. I just wasn't, Aaron Wainwright did the job.
Yeah.
Kind of James did a decent job when he came on, I thought. James Benjamin, he carried a bit.
Yeah.
But you can't be relying on your replacement hooker to do some of your ball carrying, can you? And that's what worries me. Where are the ball carriers?
Yeah, it's a good point. I want to give a shout out to Aneirin Owen. I thought he was very good. Like I said earlier, it was his first start in 20 months. And I love the way he takes it to the line. He's got really good hands. When he had the ball, we looked like doing something.
Yeah.
And he's not the biggest Aneirin Owen. Like when you see him in the flesh, you'll be surprised how small he is. But he's tough. He's a tough cookie. And he's, like I say, he's got great dancing feet. And he really is one for the future. I was pleased with, seeing him back and putting in that performance.
I thought him and Will Reid both played quite well in spurts. Yes. They were hitting the line kind of at the right time. They were hitting nice angles. There was one point quite early in the game, Will Reid's just come onto a pass really kind of sharply and just ran across the grain of the defence, and he's opened it up. And he connected with Aneirin then, and we're unlucky not to get more out of that particular attack. But apart from that, apart from a couple of breaks by Aneirin, I wrote in my notes, it looked like the only way we were going to get territory for a bit was by penalties, because we just weren't breaking the defensive line. And every time we'd get slightly over the game line, they would just disrupt that ruck, and they were slowed down, and then they were sorted out, and it just didn't look like, it was just an incredibly frustrating bit. I was really pleased when we had the penalty and Kai Evans kicked it. That was the
Yes.
right decision. You
Yeah.
know, it was absolutely the right decision. But we just couldn't deal with the rolling maul, and in our rolling mauls, we had those opportunities when we kicked for the corner, and the precision wasn't there, and you just looked at the difference. Mind you, the note that most sticks out to me of the game is for reasons I haven't quite remembered, wrote Leo Cullen looks like a sad ghost. So obviously
He's a
my
funny
mind.
looking bloke. He is a funny looking bloke, Liam
Well,
Cullen.
I am not Harry Styles, so I'm not in a position. I'm not throwing stones, but there was just a slight. There was a footage of him, and he was in the little box, and there didn't seem to be anyone else near him. I think what's his name? Robin McBride
Right. Yeah.
was just out of shot, and he just looked quite sad and almost Victorian. Like he was
Yeah.
haunting some kind of manor house, but he's a coach of a very successful team.
He was a good player as well.
He
Alan, in
was, yeah.
fairness, he's a good
Awkward
coach.
bugger.
He absolutely was. Yeah. So yeah, there we are. Then no other takes or thoughts
Well,
on the
well,
Leinster game, Gav, before we move on.
well. I'm going to say some words that I never thought I would say. I thought George Knott was good.
Oh,
I thought
blimey.
I thought he was one of our better players.
Yeah.
I think when the game got a bit more scrappy in the second half, he was really dogged around the fringes. He was making tackles. He was good at the breakdown. There were a couple of times he slowed the ball right down.
Mm.
And for the first time since he's been the Dragons, I thought, yeah, I can see the point of him.
It's almost as if lock is his best position,
It is
isn't it?
almost like if you play a second row, they can do their job.
Yes. Same with Lonsdale. I like
Yes.
George Knott. I like Sean Lonsdale. I also like him in the second row, not in the back row. So yeah, that's that then. Yeah, pretty predictable, and it was a grim afternoon weather-wise, and it wasn't much fun. But like I said, I don't think Dragons were poor or terrible. I just think we lost to a far superior team. This was a better performance than the one against Cardiff, and I will say that.
Oh no,
Much
I
better.
totally agree with you. But it's that lack of precision again. So instead of just scoring
Yes.
10 points, we could have scored 17 or 20 points if that precision had been there.
Did you see the stats after the game? Leinster put up a screenshot of match stats.
No.
It was only a brief overview. This won't surprise you. We had more possession and territory than Leinster.
Yeah, well, it
So
felt like that.
We had 55%, they had 45%. Territory, we had 51, they had 49. We only made 3 offloads, they made 8. 100 passes by us, 97 by Leinster. Meters carried, 201 by us, 320 by Leinster. That shows me how clinical Leinster are.
Oh, yeah.
When they get their opportunities, and it speaks volumes about their attack. Where we have all the possession and territory, but we do absolutely nothing with it. It just shows the difference in attack and being clinical, the accuracy, the execution. We're going to be talking about this now for many weeks on the pod. I can see it now.
We should almost have a klaxon for when we say the same things. But yeah. Again, it's a coaching thing, isn't it? You look at Leinster, they run really complex lines and they do it over and over again, the same way that Ireland do. Ireland run those lines over and over again until it works. If you said to me, what are Dragons' kind of attacking moves? Well, I wouldn't think this.
Yeah, and that comes down to the remit of Matt O'Brien, who is the backs coach. He's obviously job sharing because he still plays for Newport RFC and he is involved in academy. And Dave Flanagan, and I expect more from the backs. I've lost count of the amount of times people say to me, "Oh, you've got a really good backline. It looks really dangerous," but it's not clicking. There's something not clicking about our backs play, is it, Gav? And I can't put my finger on it. I just can't.
No, it's we've got all the ingredients. We haven't got the cake.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
They're not blending, are they? They're not, wherever it is, it's not clicking. And I think Will Reid is a good kind of player going forward, but he's not going to bring those other backs into the game. The way he plays isn't going to bring other backs into the game.
No, that's right. So I think we'll move on now. So that
cool.
that was Leinster. That was done. Like I said, still looking for our first win. Hopefully, it'll come this weekend. But let's move on to some news now. A couple of bits of news. So, after much speculation, Dragons confirmed this week that former coach Paul Turner, remember him, Gav?
I do indeed. I remember him
Yeah.
playing. I'm old enough to.
That's why I asked. That's why I knew he was.
Yeah, no, I was a massive Paul Turner fan when he played for Newport. He was a great player.
Before my time, but so
Yeah.
many older people tell me he was an excellent player, very talented, Paul Turner.
He just came at the wrong time.
Yeah.
He was playing at the same time as Jonathan Davis.
Oh, yeah. It's a tough one, isn't it? So anyway, Paul Turner, he will be working with the club on a part-time consultancy basis for the remainder of the season. So what's Turner going to be doing? Well, he's going to be assisting with player recruitment, which is pretty handy considering our head of recruitment, Rob Burgess, is no longer with us. And he's going to be developing scouting links and supporting the club's pathway system. Turner will also take on a mentoring role with the coaches at the club, and he's going to have an advisory role with the new board of Dragons RFC. So, what was your take to it then, Gav? Paul Turner coming back and assisting and advising Dave
Well,
Dragon and helping out.
we had talked about it before. We said we felt that Di needed some support, but also could do with somebody to come in and give him a kind of whisper in the ear kind of thing. And Paul Turner's been there. He successfully coached Dragons for a period. He's done a good job up at Ampthill in Bedfordshire. In terms of getting those from kind of regional, kind of county leagues up into the championship.
Yeah. I think it's a really good move. For a couple of reasons. First of all, I think Paul Turner's a very good coach. And I think people forget. I mean, Dragon supporters know how well Turner did with such little resources. I mean, we talk about the lack of money and resources the Dragons have now. Turner didn't have a pot to piss in when he was coach of the Dragons. And let's not forget, he was Bangor's League Coach of the Year back in 2010.
Yeah.
I mean, they were training, Ronnie's Bar, Ronnie Parade. Yes. That was their training. Like, they trained on a cabbage patch. That was the gym. It was a rusty old shed where they worked out. I mean, the facilities were awful. He had no money and he did a really good job. And it's a shame he left. I mean, he left because of some, internal issues, not because of results. It was mainly because of internal. Yeah. He did upset a few people. He fell out with the board, and there was a whole stuff with Andy Howell and everything. But
he can be quite spiky, apparently.
Yes. But he's a very good coach, and he's very knowledgeable, very experienced. And like we talked about, I think Di needs a helping hand. He needs that experience, because if you look at the coaching setup as a whole, I'm not entirely satisfied with it. There's too many part-timers. There's not enough experience within the whole coaching setup. Too many job shares going on. And I think Turner's going to be a valuable asset.
Just have a full-time coaching setup. Yeah, have Di, have Murphy, have a couple of other guys.
Yeah. But you got to wonder, where's the money then? Because, Dean Ryan was gone. But what's happening with his wages? I mean, surely there's space there, because Dean Ryan was on a lot of money.
Di Flanagan's not on the same money that Dean Ryan got.
No, so no, I think it's really good news. I think it's a shrewd move, and hopefully that'll work out. I'm pretty pleased.
I hope so. My fear, and this is going to be a very niche Venn diagram here. So, alongside Dragons, I also follow Hastings United Football Club in the Isthmian League Premier, as you do. They're my local side, and there were some changes in management. I'm playing well, and there were some problems, and then there was. Someone was brought in, and there was lots of rumours. Oh, X is going to leave and Y is going to leave, and rightly enough, within about a week, we lost half the team and lost the manager. I have a dreadful fear that that Dragons are about to have the same experience as Hastings, and I hope not. In the because I'm already starting to see some rumblings that some people aren't very happy in the setup at Dragons with Turner turning up, and I don't know how reliable these sources are, because man on internet says something isn't the greatest arbiter of truth. But it does worry me, because I saw it recently enough in the club, so I would hope I didn't see it in Dragons as well. But something has to happen, doesn't it? Because we've got all the pieces; they are just not slotting together.
No. Interesting you say that, because when I read Dave Flanagan's comments, because he was asked about Turner after the Leinster game, it came across quite spiky.
Yeah.
Because the suggestion was he was going to come in. I mean, nobody suggested this, but he seemed to think that the report was he was going to come in as a director of rugby.
Yeah.
And it was Steph Thomas from Wales Online who broke the story. And at no point, and I read the story a couple of times, at no point does he ever mention a director of rugby role.
No.
He's there as an advisory role. So Steph covered it and broke the story as he should have been. But Di seemed a little bit, I don't know, I don't want to say threatened, but he got a little bit spiky by the suggestion of Dave Flanagan coming back. Paul Turner coming back to the club. I thought it was quite interesting, just the tone of his comments.
Yeah.
More than anything. Did you pick up on that as well?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. You know, he was like quite defensive, and Di is quite an open and transparent coach, but he felt quite defensive in that situation. But
Yeah.
I can see the logic of it. You've got a guy who's coached the team before, who's got a big reputation in the town as well. You know, he's a favourite son of the town. It's problematic, isn't it? You know, if you're Di, you'd be wondering what's going on. I didn't even realise Turner had left Ampthill. I thought he was still up there.
No, he is still part of Ampthill. He's doing this on a part-time basis, so he will still remain as head coach. But it would be interesting to know the length of his contract. When does his contract with Ampthill sort of come to an end?
The thing is, they've got pots of money. They've probably got more money than we have.
Oh, Ampthill, really?
Yeah. It's somebody is funding that club. I've played against Ampthill Vets, not their first team before. Anyone suggests I've played at that level. And Ampthill Club is literally in this tiny little village on the fringes of Bedford. And, you know, it's like a proper old school ground. Yeah, it's not getting filled up, but there are pots of money in that club. And, you know, they've got South African guys. They've got guys coming out the Saracens Academy being siphoned up there. They have got a strong playing group. You know, they've stayed in the championship for 7 or 8 seasons, and this is a tiny little club in a small village. So there is money there, and he's been there for a long time. And I know that when I played against their vet side, you know, and I said about Paul Turner, I said, well, Paul Turner's your coach, and he said, yeah, well, you know, we're looking after him, was the suggestion.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So Paul Turner said this about Ampthill and his role with the Dragons. So he said, my main focus remains with Ampthill, who I remain fully committed to. But this is an exciting opportunity for me to once again support Gwent Rugby, the new board at the Dragons, plus Dave Flanagan and his coaching team. So he's making it clear that Ampthill is still his priority. That's what he's fully committed to, but he is going to help in any way he can to assist Dave Flanagan and Gwent Rugby. Like I said, I think it's a good move. I think it's shrewd. It's popular with supporters. And they'll go down well, I think, with a lot of Dragons supporters.
I'm just disappointed he doesn't have the mullet he had in the 80s. That's my only...
No.
He forever has a mullet in my head.
So another bit of news then. Judgment Day. I don't know if you've seen this.
I have.
So Judgment Day doubleheader that we have every season, that's now going to be at the Cardiff City Stadium on the 1st of June. So Scarlets will face Dragons. That's an away game for us. And Cardiff will face the Ospreys. The event cannot be held at the Principality Stadium because it's hosting another event, which is unnamed. It's not Taylor Swift. People keep saying Taylor Swift. It's not Taylor Swift because Taylor Swift is on the 18th of June and this game is on the 1st. So it's not because of Taylor Swift. It's an event which is unnamed. Oh, I love that. Jeff Lynne's Yellow. Yes, please. You hate it, but I love it. I love it. I should have seen it when they played Wembley Stadium because they did play Wembley Stadium, didn't they? A couple of years back. Yellow. It was Jeff Lynne's Yellow, it was called.
I was going to say, because there's a version of Yellow that plays in the theatre in Hastings, and I'm going to suggest Jeff Lynne probably isn't involved in that.
Oh, I know you hate Yellow, but I love it.
Yes. Sorry, I'm taking us off on their sidetrack.
Yeah, so I'm just curious now to know what the the unnamed defenders. And like I said to you, I hope it's Rolling Stones because they're going to be going on tour soon, I would think, or so like Metallica or something like that. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to bother with Judgment Day this season. I don't fancy going to the Cardiff City Stadium for it. It's not a bad stadium at all, mind. It's just out to the city centre, it's in Leckwith. And it's just a bit of an RC walk. Yeah,
it's an arse to get to, in my experience. Because I was thinking about going this year, but yeah.
I don't mind Judgment Day. Like I said, a lot of season ticket holders, they hate it because they lose their home game. But I've always thought it's a really good day out and you get to meet up with mates. It's a good event to catch up with people. Like I said, you could have gone and we could have met up, couldn't we? But I don't know if I am going to go. I'm not saying for definite I won't go, but I really don't fancy it at the Cardiff City Stadium, I got to be honest. So
maybe a pod away day, Jamie.
Yes. We'll have to see closer to the time, but I think that's a bit meh, to be honest, for me, Cardiff City Stadium. But so those are the bits of news. Should we have a look what's in our mailbox, Gav?
Yes. Let's see what our listeners have got to say.
Okay, so this one is from Harley Worthy, who we know quite well, and from the Rat Pod. With the injuries mounting up and the ban for Basham, do Dragons need to bring in short-term cover? And if so, who do you think you'd be able to bring in?
Well, yeah, that's the words of a Cardiff fan, clearly, because they love a short-term loan. Well, we've got a lot, but we've got players coming through, haven't we? And I don't think the players we could get on loan are going to be any better than some of the ones we already have. And do we want to stifle the younger players to get in 35-year-old blokes at the end of their career from other clubs in England or wherever? Yeah, it's I don't know. We need a 10 cover or we need a 15 cover. We need one of those. Where we get that from, I'm not sure. Other than that, who are we going to bring in? I would love Will Rowlands to return, but I don't think the delights of Stowe Hill are quite as much as the delights of Paris. So I don't think we're getting him back at any point. Other than that, I don't know. Yeah, the injuries are bad and are getting worse, but we've got a big squad. I don't know, Jamie. What's your take on that?
So, two things for me. First of all, we probably haven't got a budget for it because Dave Flanagan recently said about fly half cover that we don't have the budget to bring someone in. And if he does need fly half cover in an emergency, he needs to, and I quote, ask a favour from the board. So I don't think it's going to be simple for us to just bring someone in. And like you said, who is available? I mean, Cardiff got plenty of back rowers. Maybe they could lend us one of theirs. I don't know. But secondly, like you said just then, if we are going to bring in a loan, a short-term loan, I think it needs to be at fly half rather than the back row. Because with the back row, I could see what Dave Flanagan will do. He'll play the youngsters, so he'll play the likes of Ryan Woodman, he'll play George Young, and you know what he's going to do. He's going to have George Nott and Sean Lonsdale on the back row. It'll be patched up with youngsters and playing players out of position. But for me, the main concern is at 10. Because if Will Reid gets injured now with Angus out, I'm sorry, but I do not want to see Steph Hughes or Jordan Williams at 10. I really, really don't. But those are our emergency options, along with an Ivan Owen. I'd rather an Ivan Owen at 10, actually, because he's got the skill set and he's a really good footballer. That could work, but do we really want to see that? I mean,
no.
You want experience.
In terms of back row, I think Ryan Woodman will do the job. Ryan Woodman's going to be a full Welsh international very quickly. So let's blood him now. Let's get it done. And hopefully he won't be kind of dogged by injuries like Harry Keddy was early. And, when it looked like he was going to be the next Welsh superstar. Sorry, Harry, I cursed you with that, I think, when I was saying that. But it's 10 is the problem. Because I like Will Reid, but we do need something else. We need a smarter head at 10.
Yeah, you absolutely do. I know you wasn't a big fan of him, but I wish Sam Davies was still at the club. Did you see he made the Pro D Team of the Week? He's doing very well at Grenoble. He's doing very well.
He is.
Good on him.
It's a French second division, though. I know it's a good second division.
It's a good standard. It's a good standard, isn't it?
Let's not get carried away, though.
You're just not a fan of him at all, Leo.
I'm really not. No. I've never understood what people saw in him. Kind of. He wasn't a really creative 10, and then he wasn't a really defensive 10.
I mean, he couldn't tackle for toffee, but he was a
Oh,
very good. I thought he was a very good place kicker, and I thought this technical game, when he was on it, I thought he was really good. His kicking game, but he was
I
very hot and cold, Sam. But when he was good for us, he was really good, and I will give him credit for his due.
I've played with 10s who couldn't tackle a bag of toffees, but Sam Davis really could. His tackling is worse than that.
Yeah, it's a fair point, but I do miss Sam. But anyway, that's for another day, another pod. Nathan Dark says, fair to say, maybe in this run of form, we need a talisman, a vocal type presence to grind out the result, no matter what. Look across the squad. We are missing that. That's a fair point, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's a point I've made as well. We need you need that Dan Bigger type character who's just going to go, come on, I am not losing this. Yeah. Somebody who will not accept defeat. But we don't have that. You know this squad really well, Jamie. I don't think there's someone who does that, is there? Lydiate is experienced, but quite a quiet man.
Yeah, I thought Steph Hughes was going to be that person, especially when he was announced as captain. But I have to say, as much as I like Steph Hughes, and I think he's a very good rugby player, solid club pro, I don't think he's a good captain. I don't think he's got the captaincy mindset and skill. I got to be honest about that. I know some people may disagree with me, but I don't think he's a natural leader and captain. Do you?
He's not coming across like that. But then I think we are bereft of leaders. I'm not sure who the leaders in that club are right now. It seems to lack that. Again, Will Rowland's natural leader. We let players like that slip, which I understand as well. But maybe Elliot.
Yeah, but we have got a leadership group within the squad, haven't we?
George Nott is on there.
Eddie is in it, and there's quite a few. There's a number of people in this leadership group, but yeah, it's difficult to see the leadership at the moment, isn't it? I have to say.
No, there's a complete lack of leadership, sadly.
Yeah. So we've had a few more comments about Paul Turner coming back. So Daniel Green said, Paul Turner made us a very nasty team to play at Rodney Parade. Hard to beat. We haven't had that consistency since. Yes, agree. When Turner was at the club, it was much harder for teams to come to Rodney Parade. Now I think it's a little bit too easy. Yeah. It's lost that. I've talked about this on the pod before. I've talked about it on rap. People talk about Rodney Parade being a fortress. It hasn't been a fortress for a very long time. It's lost its edge for me. There are times, mind, where, the crowd are on it and it has, these flashes of how it used to be a Rodney Parade. But it's not, I'm afraid it hasn't been that way for a long time. That's the reality.
No.
And it's a shame. It's a real shame. David Bond says, Paul Turner should never have left. That's my comment on this return. He says it's to the point, but yeah, I agree. But like I said, I think there was internal stuff going on there and falling out with people. That's why.
And he wouldn't have stayed at that. He wouldn't have stayed for us for a decade, would he? I know he's been at Amdill for a long time, but different kind of setup. I think the pressures are less up there.
Yeah. M. Ford says, I think Paul going back to the Dragons will certainly help the current coaching setup. However, what I've witnessed so far this season has been very poor indeed. Looks like another season ahead where the Dragons will struggle to compete on all levels. A bit too doom and gloom, Gav, or do you think he may have a point?
Right. Does he have a point? Yes. But do we need to be that doom and gloom yet? No, because it is early. Things can change. Our players are coming back now. We were always going to lose to Munster. We were always going to lose to Leinster. We should have beaten Cardiff. We should have beaten Edinburgh. Let's win the winnable games as they come up. And there's no worry about losing to Sharks away or Stormers away, because that's happening. Let's focus on beating Ospreys. Let's focus on beating Scarlets. Let's focus on beating Cardiff at theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should remember it is 4 games gone. However, as you know, I am a little bit pessimistic about this season, but that's me anyway. I'm always a pessimist. I can't help that. I'm always a glass half empty person, but I am worried about this season. I am, based on what I'm seeing so far. I'm not too bothered about the Munster-Leinster games. We're always going to lose them.
Yeah.
But as I've said to you before, Gav, if you can't beat the likes of Edinburgh and you can't beat the likes of Cardiff at home, 2 winnable games, who are you going to beat? You know, and we talked about this league. We talked about the URC. It's a very, for all its faults, it's a very competitive league. And look at Zebra now. Again, I've mentioned them a lot. They won. They beat the Sharks. Yes, we can say the Sharks are terrible. Would we beat the Sharks? Probably not. If we're being brutally honest, I mean, you know, it is worrying. That's my concern. If we can't win the winnable games, who are we going to beat? But I hope to be proven wrong anyway throughout the season. So yeah, hopefully I will be a bit more optimistic. But at the moment, I am a little bit concerned. I'm not going to lie about that. Okay, so we got a comment now from Darryl Phillips, someone who I know quite well. It's my dad, in case you're wondering. He says, I'm sure you've got strong views on this, Gav, on this next subject. So he says, in light of the report into the Welsh Rugby Union, do you think there should have been a lot more resignations than just one, or do they deserve a chance to put things right? So just before you answer that, then for those of you who don't know, I'm sure you are aware, but there was an independent review carried out, and it's been released this week. It's found aspects of the Welsh Rugby Union culture were sexist, misogynist, racist, and homophobic, and not properly challenged. The WRU board was also described as dysfunctional, ill-equipped, and unable to address the serious institutional and cultural problems it faced. The report makes 36 recommendations, and the WRU says it will accept all of the recommendations. Now, I don't know if you've read the full report, Gav, but
I have not.
The full report. I couldn't sleep one night. I read it briefly, and then I woke up in the middle of the night and I actually read, I think it's 36 pages. I did read through it. I'll tell you what, Gav, I mean, you've probably seen the snippets and some of the stuff that's come out. It's some really grim findings in our report, Gav. Really, really grim findings. What did you make of it?
Right. It was disgusting, but it was also absolutely, I wasn't going, oh my God, I can't believe that. Of course I believe that. We have a dysfunctional union running a largely dysfunctional bloody sport in a country, and I don't like to criticise all of Wales, but we aren't always the most progressive people in the world in Wales, and I think there are ideas and people running rugby in Wales, and all the time I've known rugby, they aren't the greatest thinkers in my experience, and I say that as a rugby committee man myself, but
yeah.
But we have got this professional sport that is run by amateurs, and when you try to turn it professional, they cannot deal with it. And there's all the comments about the CEO, and they're saying, well, what's your experience running a company? She's one of the highest rated business women in the world. Forbes magazine said she was one of the most influential business women in the world, or business people. Yeah, they should all go, all of them, including Nigel Walker, because he was there when it was happening. And he should have been driving that. They should all go. Get actual people in who know how to run an organisation properly. It's a professional body. It should be run by people who are professional.
Yeah, that's the one. There's several things that stood out for me, but the main one was what you just mentioned there, Amanda Blanc, when she was challenged by a member of the WRU board. And like you said, she's a FTSE 100 executive.
Forbes magazine,
flying high as CEO Noah Zaviva, very, very experienced, very credible, very knowledgeable business person. What do you know about governance? Is what she said. And she was raising concerns about the women's game, and somebody had said to her, no, it's all fine, I've just been to see him train. And it's obviously, on the one hand, you laugh at it, but on the other hand, you think, oh my God, it's scary because those people are in charge. And there's things like, men being the master race, get back in the kitchen, women being referred to as sugar tits, and saying that women had slept their way into the jobs, the homophobia. There was a comment made to a woman going to see her boyfriend. She played for Wales, said that she plays for the right team. It's just, it's awful, isn't it? It's just really, really awful. And I think the worst thing for me as well, some of those people who've made those remarks, they're still there. Some of them are. Yeah, some of them would have left, but I bet you some of them are still there.
Well,
and they're the ones who really got, be shown the door. But Nigel Walker did say with some of these allegations, they didn't know who it was. I'm thinking, well, surely you could try a bit harder to find out.
Does.
Someone knows.
Yeah, someone does. Yeah. Of course, someone knows.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like any organisation, isn't it? If you feel it'll be treated seriously, you'll call her out then and there. If you don't think it's going to be treated seriously, you don't call her out, and that's when problems come out. You know, I spend a lot of my time looking at the safeguarding culture of organisations. WRU has no safeguarding culture at all.
No.
Because people didn't feel free to challenge grotesque behaviour.
Yeah. And Amanda Blanc said in the resignation letter, I mean, if you haven't read that, that's pretty damning, I find, the resignation letter. She says a couple of times, but there's no strategy. There's no strategy in the WRU. They didn't know how to raise complaints, how to address them, how to implement a strategy and a plan going forward. It was just... and I don't blame her for leaving. And I was listening to Radio Wales the other day. They had Abby Tierney, who's the new CEO, coming in. And she was asked about where would she like Amanda Blanc to come back. And said, we love to have her back. I'm thinking, why the hell would she come back? Why would she come back now? Just because you got a new board? There's no way she's going to go back to WRU now after what she's experienced, even if it's a brand new board, is she? And you wouldn't blame her, would you, if she did turn around and
I think she'd be insane to go back there, unless she goes back, right, here's a list of the people who shouldn't be here, get rid of them and I'll come back. That's absolutely the only way I would go back if I was here. These 15 people, get them shot because I'm not working in the same organisation as them. The problem is rugby is a professional sport, right? And you can say, well, it wasn't always professional. Yeah, that was nearly 30 years ago now. Let's move on. Let's understand that. And if you compare it to, I'll compare it to cricket. Cricket, again, a sport run by old white men predominantly.
Yeah.
Cricket was revolutionised by men who weren't old white men, stuck to the old ways, went, tell you what, we can make this game better, we can turn it into a multi-million-pound operation. And they have done. And there is still issues in cricket, but they are being rooted out quickly, and the game itself as a professional body is rising, and not because of old white men who like a tie and a blazer, but because of men and women of colour and, kind of all around the world who are just bringing new ideas into the game. And rugby needs to be thinking in the same ways.
Yeah, interesting. Amanda Blanc, in her resignation letter, she does actually mention Yorkshire Cricket Club as an example of sort of where the WRU, the path it was heading down. Same problems that was being experienced in Yorkshire with the racism, the homophobia, the bullying and everything else. But just to answer Dad's second part of the question, I do think the new board deserve a chance to put things right, because these are new people coming in now. They weren't part of what's going on, the likes of Richard Collier-Keyword and Abby Tierney. So we need to give them a chance. We can't just go, it's there.
I'm all right with them. Anyone who was there when that happened should be gone, out the window.
And I'll tell you what his sickness was. Steve Phillips, the man who presided over this, claims not to have seen the resignation letters, showed no contrition, no remorse whatsoever when these allegations came out. They've paid him off, though. Nearly £500,000, which is just ridiculous, isn't it? Money that could have gone into the game, so sorely needed into Welsh rugby, and
imagine being a terrible human being and getting £500,000 for it. Shocking, really.
Yeah, and he'll get a top job somewhere else now, because that's what happens. All these, these pen pushers and high flyers, they just go into all these different jobs, and like Roger Lewis, for example. They just seem to get these high-flying, high-ranking jobs. So he'll get a top job soon, Steve Phillips. Absolute disaster of a bloke. Fair play. Okay, then. So that's that. That's the news and the mailbox done. Do you have a Gwent Rugby roundup first, Gav?
I do.
Excellent.
So this weekend, I'm looking for future Newport versus Abervale this weekend.
Oh yeah, that'd be good. Gwent Derby, excellent.
At the Newport Stadium.
When is that? Is that Saturday?
It is Saturday, yes.
Oh, that's a shame, because it's sort of clashing with the Dragons game a bit, isn't it? I suppose you could do the two games, but because contrary to popular belief, there is an element of Newport fans who do follow the Dragons. You wouldn't think it on social media, but there are Newport fans that go to both Newport and Dragons games. So I'm just wondering, they probably could do both, couldn't they? Yeah, they probably could. But it's just a shame it's on the same day. But yeah, that'll be a really good game. Newport flying high at the moment, aren't they? They're doing really well.
Well, beat Cardiff 26-15 at
Yeah.
Cardiff on Saturday. Puts them strongly in second place now in the Premiership. Llandovery are top. They beat Pontypool 37-21. But still, that group of Llandovery, Newport, Eberville and Pontypool are well away from everyone else. They are taking up the 4 places there. In the Championship, mixed kind of results. Gwent Derby, Bedwas lost 23-36 at home to Newbridge. And I'm about to make a massive apology to Penalster, who I didn't realise were a Dragons club. I always thought they were
Oh yeah.
Cardiff region. My
Yeah.
sense of geography let me down clearly there. But they lost 27-28 this weekend to Ystrad Rhondda. And Cross Keys won 19-18 away to Rumney.
Good stuff.
So in Division 1 East, Abergavenny lost 15-40 at home to Monmouth. Abergavenny having a tricky season. They've lost heavily to Bryn Mawr. They've lost heavily to Monmouth. They've lost heavily to Nelson. They're having a tricky season, Abergavenny. And a couple of seasons ago, they were doing well. Andy Powell was involved up there before he went to Brecon and stuff. Yeah, but they're struggling. Pontypool United also lost quite heavily. They lost away 47-14 to Bedlinog. And now in a derby of the clubs we played youth rugby at. So Dowlais, who I briefly played youth rugby at, lost 23 at home to NSD, who you played your youth rugby for, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, up the D's, yeah.
And Nelson lost 14-24 at home to Blaenavon. Blaenavon, a couple of good wins on the spin recently for those boys. Another of my local teams. And Talawine, they're the home of Tain Basham. I wish they'd perhaps taught him some common sense. Beat Sengenez 29-16 away from home. So, and
good result.
Yeah, and the Gwent sides are doing well generally. I'm hoping over the next couple of weeks to get some match reports. I've asked individual clubs to send me some match reports down the lower leagues. So, I'd like to see what's going on in Division 4, 5 and 6 East. So anyone with connections to those clubs, feel free to get in touch because I would love to be able to talk about those sides as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Okay, thank you for that, Gav. I've got a new feature for us now for the pod. And we both love our music. And I think you're going to like this, Gav. So for those of you who aren't aware, Dragons have been running a new feature called On the Playlist. You'll see it on their social media channels on Twitter, Facebook, etc. So it's a new segment. So for their home games this season, they're asking one player every home game to choose 6 songs of the pre-match music at Ronnie Parade. Now, there's been a few already, so we will go through all of them in time. But I thought we'd start off with Elliot D, his match day playlist against Leinster, and we're going to rate it. So we'll rate it out of 10.
Right.
Okay, so that'll be the. So I'll tell you the songs, we'll discuss them, and then you say, yeah, that's a 7 out of 10, and we'll have to tally the scores up to see which players actually got the best playlist. Okay, so this was Elliot D's 6 songs. This was part of the pre-match playlist of Ronnie Parade. The first track, you're gonna love this one. In My Place by Coldplay. Gav, where do you start on Coldplay?
Right, so Coldplay. Now, I'm lucky enough to be friends with Steph, who does rock and roll, and a number of times we've discussed Coldplay, and he's not a huge fan. It's fair to say, but me, no, I don't like a lot of this stuff. First album's great though. Anyone who tells you that Parachutes isn't good is clearly somebody who hasn't heard music. No. There's some great tunes on there. And of the later stuff, In My Place is not the worst of the later stuff. But they're not good, are they? They're not good at all. Yeah, it's
so, I don't mind Coldplay. I'll hold my hands up. I'm not a huge fan, but I don't mind them. I bought the first 3 albums. The one you mentioned, Parachutes, that was the first one. The second album, A Rush of Blood to the Head, which is what In My Place is off that album.
It's got some good tunes on there as well. It's got
That's a
God
good,
Put a
The
Smile on Your
Scientist.
Face. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And X and Y, wasn't it? Was
Yeah.
the third album. Now, after
That's got
that, for
clocks
me,
on it, doesn't it? X and Y.
yeah, and it's got
Yeah.
Fix You and all that on
Yeah.
it. So after the first three albums, to me, that's when Coldplay go what I call wanky. They go very wanky and very commercial, very poppy, and the Vida La Vida stuff and all that. I'm not a fan of the latest Coldplay stuff, I have to say, but I do like the first three albums. In My Place is probably my favorite Coldplay song. That's the thing, right? This is probably my favorite song, along with Adventures of a Lifetime, but that's on a later album. I can't remember the name, but I do like In My Place a lot. But it's not really match day music, is it? It's not going to make you feel pumped and ready to go on a match day. You want something a bit energetic, afternoon. You want something a bit like, you want to punch walls and get you in the mood for match day. Coldplay doesn't really get you in the mood for it. It's a bit somber, isn't it?
If I think of my pre-match playlist that I listen to before I play rugby, there's not a lot of Coldplay on that, I'll be honest. There's lots of pop punk and electric callboy on my kind of pre-match listening, but yeah, Coldplay have committed worse crimes than In My Place.
Would you see them live? If a mate said to you, I got a ticket, free ticket, or just pay 20 quid or whatever.
I'll be honest, Jamie, if they were playing the top end of my garden, I'd probably shut the curtains. I've seen them live on TV, and it's a bit bland live. I don't know.
Yeah. They played the Newport Centre a very long time ago. It might have been the first album or the second album. They did play the Newport Centre. That's when I would have liked to have seen Coldplay before they became wanky and really blew up into this huge band.
Bands in stadiums, I don't know. I've never had a huge love of watching bands in stadiums. I've been lucky to see lots of the bigger bands like Oasis, Mannix, in smaller venues, and I feel lucky, kind of having been able to do that.
The best stadium band I've ever seen was Rammstein in Cardiff, Principality. Oh my God, it was one hell of a show.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, the pyrotechnics. I mean, Dragons talk about bring your fire, Christ alive. Rammstein were bringing fire that night, cannons going off, fireworks. It was insane. Do you like Rammstein, by the way?
I do, yes.
Oh, hell of a band.
So I don't know if you know Electric Callboy. Electric Callboy, a German band, and they're like Rammstein with none of the serious. So they're kind of mixture of Euro dance pop and metalcore.
Oh, I got to check them out.
And again, they're great. Like they have confetti cannons and loads of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got The Moves by Electric Callboy. I recommend it to you. It's brilliant.
I'll be very impressed if a Dragons play actually has Rammstein on their playlist, but I doubt they will. So, okay, that's In My Place by Coldplay. I'm a fan of that track. Maybe not for a match day, but I do like that track. The second track is one I don't like. Sweet Disposition by the Temper Trap. I can't name you another song by Temper Trap off the top of my head. I'd have to go on Spotify. I cannot. It's just one of the songs by a band, and that's it. I just know that particular song, and it's massive hit. They're the Australian band, I think, didn't they? The Temper Trap, right? I'm not a fan of this track at all. I don't like the vocals. I don't like it. What do you think of it, Gav? Do you like this track?
I quite like it. It's
you do? Okay.
I like the guitar tone. It's kind of very early U2, very heavy delay and stuff. The vocal is a bit insipid.
Yeah, I don't like the vocal at all.
But the guitar, I really like the guitar tone on it.
Yeah. Okay, and then the third choice, I don't know if you've listened to this, Cornwall My Home by the Countrymen. So I never heard of this before, and then I listened to it today on Spotify, and it's a really nice sort of folk song, a homage, if you like, about Cornwall. It's a bit of a love letter. Now, I thought, why would Elliot be choosing this? I think it must have something to do with Lloyd Fairbrother. It must have something to do with the Cornish Bard. This is probably a tribute to him.
Yes, I would imagine so, because Elliot's a Newport boy, and he's.
Yeah, but Newbridge, I think he's from actually. He's from Newbridge, but he's from near that way. You're gonna like the next two songs because I know how much you like the Verve. So Elliot has chosen two Verve songs. he's chosen Sonnet, great track. And I like this one as well, Lucky Man. Sonnet and Lucky Man. Gav, you love the Verve, I know. What do you
I
think of those
do.
choices? You must be impressed with that.
I am, yeah. It's on my pre-match playlist. I have a Verve song "Come On" from Urban Hymns, but yeah, I love Lucky Man as well. It's my 50th next weekend. I'm playing a tiny little gig with some mates of mine, and Lucky Man was one of the songs we were going to play until I worked out I couldn't be bothered to learn all the chords. So I've chosen something simpler. But no, Lucky Man is a great song. And it's like that. It's got that little key change right at the end. You could see that kind of bringing you up. And
Yeah, Verve are
Sonnet.
great, isn't it?
I like Sonnet as well, but I think there's much better songs on Urban Hymns than Sonnet.
Yeah. I mean, Bittersweet Symphony, I've heard that a million times. And to be honest, it's just like, yeah, whatever. It's like Bohemian Rhapsody now. It's just one of those songs you go, yeah, it's overplayed, whatever now. But I think those are really good choices, Sonnet
I
and Lucky Man.
I still think Bittersweet Symphony is better than most things. To be honest, I remember the first time I heard it, and I was so blown away by it. I was living in South London at the time, and I heard it on the radio, and I literally ran out of the house to get the HMV to buy her own single.
The problem is now it reminds me of England football because ITV used that
Yeah,
for years on their England football coverage. That's what puts me off
they
it.
do.
But
But the best
I
part,
love the first.
yeah, the best part in it is the bit that no one ever plays all the things about. It's like the bit when the two vocals are crossed over. It's a sex and silence melody and violence bit,
Yeah,
and the other vocal. That's as good as anything.
yeah.
I am
So
a
good
Verve fan,
choices
though,
there.
as you know, Jamie. It's
I do like the Verve. Richard Ashcroft's a bit of a dickhead, if I'm being honest. I really don't like his views and the whole COVID denying stuff.
no.
But the Verve itself, separate the art from the artist. That's what
Oh,
the artist from the art. You know what I mean?
I'm a huge Smith fan. I've had to make
Oh
lots of
yeah,
I've had to make lots of compromises there.
yeah. It's like me with Pantera and Phil Samo.
Oh,
It's
absolutely. Again, another band I
I
love.
hate that guy. I hate that guy, but I love Pantera. And if they were playing live, because they are back
Yeah,
together, they've got Zach Wilde there,
yeah.
haven't they? And Charlie
Wildly,
Galante, and they are
wildly.
touring. And
Yeah,
yeah, he's a good guitarist. He's perfect for Pantera, mate. He's absolutely perfect for him. I'd love to see him live, but Phil Samuel's an absolute dick.
I saw him live in Newport Centre.
Did you? Oh,
Yes.
lucky bugger. Were they good live?
Oh yeah, it's superb. Yeah.
What tour was that on? Don't tell me
The
Cowboys from Hell tour, was it?
No, no, it was the one after. It was the Fabian.
Oh,
It was
Vulgar
Fabian.
Display.
No,
Vulgar
was it
Display
Vulgar?
Power, is it? Oh.
Yeah, it was Vulgar Display Tour. Yeah,
You lucky sod. I'd love to have seen that. Should we move on to the last
yeah,
song then?
absolutely.
It's Beautiful Day by U2. So what do you think of that one?
It's I quite like early U2. Terrible thing to say. I like early wherever, but yeah, it's not a great song. It's fine, and I'm convinced the line in that, it's a beautiful day, and I'm convinced he says, "I've got a bulgy feline."
I never noticed that, but I'll have to listen back
Listen
to
to that.
that now.
It's a beautiful day. I've got a bulgy feline.
I'm the same as you, though, Gav. I like YouTube. I love the early stuff.
Yeah,
Sunday Bloody Sunday. I Will Follow and all that. I love the early. I got a greatest hit, the greatest hits album that I had of U2. I bought the years ago on CD, and I remember CD one was brilliant because it was the early stuff, and
yeah.
then CD two was the later stuff, and that was the CD I never played because
No,
I just
yeah.
didn't like it.
I The Unforgettable Fire is their best album for me, and they never came close again to that for me. But they're a fun band as well. I also Beautiful Day always reminds me of when they had the championship on ITV.
Yes,
And,
the theme to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I would always find myself saying, "It's a championship. Have you ever been to hell?" To the tune of "A Beautiful Day."
Brilliant. Okay, so those are the six tracks then. In My Place, Coldplay, Sweet Disposition, The Temper Trap, Cornwall My Home by The Countrymen, Sonnet and Lucky Man by The Verve, Beautiful Day, U2. Gav, what's your score out of 10 for Elliot's playlist?
6.5.
You're going 6.5. Okay. I'm going to go 7 because I really don't like The Temper Trap and I'm not a fan of U2, Beautiful Day. The Cornwall My Home is actually a really nice track. And I think that's a nice touch of it is dedicated to the barrel. Lloyd. But yeah, I'm going to give you a 7. So I think we're going to have really good fun with these. We have got lots more to come. I think we'll do Roger Williams next week. This was at the start of the season, and he's got some indie classics on. He's got some stereophonics and stuff on there. So do you like the stereophonics? I don't feel
I like the first 2 albums.
It's becoming a theme with you, with the first 2 albums, the early stuff.
Yeah,
no, you are right. I mean, the first 2 albums were the best. I love the phonics, but you are right. Word Gets So and Performance and Cocktails is clearly their best work.
Yeah, More Life in the Tramps Vest is, if you grew up in the valleys, that song just captures everything, doesn't it?
That is such a Welsh album, Word Gets Around. That encapsulates Welsh working class valley life better than any other Welsh album I've ever heard. Honestly, it really is.
I moved back to the valleys when that was like everywhere, and it was just a soundtrack to being back in Wales.
Yeah, it's really, really good album. Okay, then. So yeah, that was the Players Playlist. We're having a bit of fun with that as the season goes on. So let's move on then to the derby this weekend. So it's Dragons versus Ospreys in round 5 of the URC on Saturday evening at Ronnie Parade, Newport. Kickoff is at 5:15. Now, the game is live on Fireplay Sports. However, if you don't subscribe to Fireplay, you can watch a full match replay of this game on S4C on Sunday afternoon at 3:15. So we haven't won at home, like I said, since October 2022. Ospreys coming to town. They are the highest ranked Welsh team at the moment. They're 10th in the league. How are you feeling about this one, Gav?
Well, those of you who listen to pod will remember a couple of weeks ago I was very cocksure that we would beat Ospreys. And I'm less cocksure that we'll beat Ospreys. Can we beat Ospreys? Yes. Will we beat Ospreys? Probably not right now. I don't know what we've got that's going to cause them the problems. The Mole is interesting, as you talked about very early in the pod. The Mole is a chance because they didn't seem to defend it very well against Glasgow. And I know Glasgow use that Mole very effectively, but our Mole's improving. So, if Bradley can get his arrows right, or Elliot gets his arrows right, whoever's there, that'll be okay. Would they like under high ball? I don't know, but then that's not really a strategy we've used very effectively. Be interested to see what the weather's like as well.
It's going to rain in the morning. So I checked the forecast today for the Met Office. So it is going to piss down in Newport in the morning, but it is going to dry up and stay cloudy at the time of the game. So it should be dry, but it will be greasy and a bit slippery, I'm guessing, because of the heavy rain we're going to get. But hopefully it will stay dry. Now, I have a question for you. It has come from the Ospreys Irie podcast. And I think it's James asking this question. He's asking, where's the game going to be won and lost this weekend? Where do you think it'll be won and lost? What are the key areas, do you think?
Well, kind of without sounding too generic, where is modern rugby won and lost? Is won at the breakdown.
Yeah.
Can you get your breakdown speed up? Can you disrupt the other team's breakdown? It's going to be won in the air. Will the kicking game put the opposition under pressure? Will they get you in the right parts of the field? And it'll be won in the set piece. Now, I think our worker on the breakdown, hopefully, we'll have Aaron available, we'll have players who can disrupt our breakdown. So the chance of kicking game, I'm not convinced by Will Reed's kicking game at the minute, but Kai Evans has got a boot on him and uses it quite effectively.
Yeah.
Lineout's going better than I expected, so I think there's a chance there. Where it does worry me is the scrum. Nicky Smith is one of the better scrummagers in Welsh regional rugby.
Nicky Smith, he's a very good scrummager, isn't he? I've always liked Nicky Smith. He should have had more Welsh caps, by the way, than what he has got. I don't know why Wales they've undervalued him and underplayed him, I think, because I think he's one of the best scrummagers in Wales, Nicky Smith.
Oh, no, I would agree. He is a good scrummager, yeah, and I think, he's going to put, he'll be up against Lloyd, and Lloyd can look after himself. But then the problem is, well, Lloyd can hold his end up. Is Rodri going to hold his end up? Because that doesn't seem to be happening as much as you would like at the minute. So that's the challenge. I don't think this is a good Ospreys team, though. If you go back 10 years ago, they're not comparing, are they? They don't have any of the Galacticos anymore.
But they do have, in my opinion, the best squad out of the 4 regions in Wales, because they lost a lot of players. But when you look at the players they still got there's still a lot of quality in that Ospreys team. I think they have got the best squad. And I said Scarlets were going to be the best Welsh region, but I think I've changed my mind now. I think Ospreys will be. I mean, I'm not convinced they're going to finish top 8.
No,
but I do think they've got a very good squad. And I do agree with that. The scrum is a major concern because Rodri Jones could have had a yellow card last week.
Oh, God,
he had a wretched time at the scrum. And I am a little bit disappointed with Rodri Jones. I thought he was okay last season. What I've seen him in this season, he's really struggling. He's not having the impact I thought he'd have. And I think we're missing Rodrigo Martinez. Because when he was there, and in pre-season, he looked solid at the scrum. And we are vulnerable there, aren't we?
What I'm seeing with Rodri, and this is great on a kind of an audio podcast, but his bind, he's getting this long bind quite early in the thing, but then when he comes under pressure, his bind is very weak, and he's got no position to move himself. So when he's getting pushed, he hasn't got that strong bind, and he just can't get anything, and he's getting driven upwards, he's getting driven downwards, because he hasn't got an anchor. Now, I am a terrible lucid, so, but that's what's happening to him. He's just not getting a strong enough bind, and he's just being driven about all over the place as a result of it.
Yeah, I am concerned about our forward, so I do think that's one area where the game could be lost. I do think Ospreys have got a very good pack. They got good scrummage, as you mentioned, Nicky Smith, Rhys Henry, who James has a weird obsession with. I mean, he's a good player.
All Ospreys fans,
I am getting a bit concerned about his obsession with Rhys Henry. No, sorry, carry on that.
All Ospreys fans do. Josh Gardner of Blood and Mud loves Rhys Henry.
He's good, though. He is good. I will give him credit. But they absolutely love him, don't they, down there? Absolutely love him. But I am concerned about up front. Our driving ball defence will have to be on it because I do think Ospreys are going to target that area.
And we should target theirs.
Like you said, with the breakdown as well and the kicking game. So just a bit of news then. I've reading today in the Argus. So they're reporting that Aaron Wainwright is going to be available. So
is Jack Morgan.
said, yes, he is coming back to this game. So Flanagan said there was no actual HIA for Aaron, which is good news. He is fine, training, and available to play if selected. Of course, he's going to be selected. He'll probably be on the bench, though, won't he? He has passed all tests and been cleared by 2 doctors. There was initially a bit of confusion, but he is available. Also, Ollie Griffiths is set to be back in the mix against the Ospreys because by price we need him. And hopefully he will play a full 80 if he is available. And Bradley Roberts is set to return after sitting out the Leinster clash with a thumb injury. However, Gav, it's bad news for Jared Rosser. So he's going to be out for a sizable period after concussion. He suffered concussion. So it looks like he's going to miss the Ospreys game and at least a doubleheader in South Africa. We've had a few concussions this season, and we Rosser, Harry Keddy, Sean Lonsdale, Screech, Hewitt as well.
And I think
we've been quite unlucky.
I think Jared started the season well as well. He's been one of the stand-up players for me.
Yeah, apart from that moment against Cardiff, the
yes, we'll forget that. Yeah, we'll forget.
Moving on, we'll forget that. So, okay, so let's get a prediction from you then, Gav. How do you see this going?
Ospreys by 6.
I was going to say, is it Derby Delight or Derby Despair? I think that's what I'm going to I'll give the title of this pod. Derby Delight or Derby Despair. So you're saying Ospreys are going to win and we're going to be winless. Yeah. I think I agree with you, unfortunately. I do think this is a winnable game. And we have got a decent record against the Ospreys and Rodney Craig. They don't like coming down here. The fans, I've seen a few fans' comments. they're nervous about this game, Ospreys fans, because they know we can turn them over at Rodney Parade. We can't do it in Swansea. We haven't done it in Swansea since bloody Dave Flanagan was Ospreys. That was the last time we beat Ospreys in Swansea. Dave Flanagan was playing fly half for the Ospreys. Let that sink in. That's so long ago. Jesus. But in Newport, at Rodney Parade, we have turned them over a few times where we've had no right to when you look at the two teams, you know? So can it be done this weekend? Yes. Do I think it will be done? No, unfortunately. And I don't want to be doom and gloom about it. I am conscious, people listen to this. I don't want us to be doom and gloom and negative, but we need to score tries, and our attack is not clicking. Our scrum looks weak. I'm struggling to see it, Gav. I'm struggling to see, from what I've seen so far from the Dragons, how we can turn this around for the Ospreys.
Yeah. So I don't see it.
No, so I'm going to go. You said 6, did you? Ospreys by 6. I'm going to go Ospreys by 7 then. Ospreys by 7.
I'm going to say it'll be low scoring. It'll be like 16-10 or something.
Yeah. Tickets are going well. Apparently, the Bisley stand is nearly sold out, which is good news. That's where I'm located, so that'll be good. Although they don't make much noise, all the noise goes from the terrace, in fairness. But yeah, hopefully there'll be a decent crowd there. I do like the 5:15 kickoff. If I'm honest, I'm a big fan of that. I mean, I do prefer 3:00, but I do like 5:15. I think that gives you enough time to have a couple of beers beforehand and a couple of beers afterwards.
You can fit a few beers in beforehand, can't you?
Yes, we'll be going to the Manager after the game to no doubt drown our sorrows. That's what me and Dan normally do. But that's where you're going to go, Gav, as well. If you ever come down here, we're going to go to the Manager. Best pub in Newport.
Well, I'm planning for the INR game. That is still my plan for first game of the season.
Yeah, take you into McCann's best jukebox in Newport as well. The metal stuff they got on there, the rock and metal jukeboxes out of this world. So
what was the biker pub that used to be in Newport? Oh God.
Well, so that was the Hornblower.
The Hornblower.
So McCann's is actually Amy McCann used to work in the Hornblower. The original Hornblower side is in that pub.
Oh, is it really?
It's a continuation of the Hornblower. Oh, the Hornblower was brilliant. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was rough as arseholes.
Yeah.
But again, they had an old school jukebox, with the CDs in it.
Yes.
And the albums they had in there. Oh, my days.
Well,
Metallica, Judas Priest. And all
they still had a
brilliant.
vinyl jukebox when I started going there.
Wow, really?
That I promise I was entirely legal for.
The worst toilets I've ever been in my life was the Hornblower in Newport. You were literally pissing up against the wall, and the smell was awful. Absolutely awful. You wouldn't dare go for a shit in those toilets.
No.
Like, even if you absolutely had to, you would never go for a poo in there. It was awful.
But like anyone who deliberately chooses to poo in Welsh pub toilets, I've got they're quite brave people for me.
Yes. Yeah, so if you do come down, Gav, I'll show you the sights and sounds.
I know what I will do. My plan is before Christmas, definitely.
Excellent. I think that's it, isn't it, Gav?
I think
Unless there's anything else?
No.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me. As always, it's been a pleasure. And I'll speak to you next week, where hopefully we'll be talking about a Dragons win. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Because we've had them in pre-season.
Yeah.
But now I want us to talk about a win that actually counts. Because that would be good, wouldn't it? That would be nice.
And no, we will do. Even though I've said we'll lose, let's be positive.
Let's be positive. Upper Dragons. Okay, thank you very much, Gab. I'll see you soon and speak next week.
Bye, everyone.